And here we are, my friends. And most of you know, I already put up episode 115, 115. I put it up about half an hour ago. I worked all morning on it, and I forgot to turn on my microphone. What a silly man. Silly man. Anyways, here I am again, and I gotta re-record this whole thing. Maybe it's better the second time around. I don't know. I had a few tokes since then. So, let me have one with you, because I always have one with you on Hippie News. Got some pink kush here, rosin, from MMJ Total Healthcare. But I also am going to need some CBD. Cheers, my friends, and we'll start Hippie News number 115. Merry Christmas. Have a look at my tree. And look, yeah, the presents are good this year. Pink Kush. I really like Pink Kush. It's a good daytime indica. Oh, no, it's a hybrid. Anyways, my friends, here we are. Oh, my hair is so static. It is so full of electricity here. It is minus 18 outside. It's a cold day in Calgary, in Canada. And my hair is full of static. Yes, I did that. How dare I? Anyways, let's get started. This is the end of the year pretty well. I do hope to do a Hippie News next week and probably do a whole year-end thing. But Leafly gave me a top 10 cannabis stories of 2017. I like it. Canada and Jeff Sessions lead the list, so I want to give it to you. It's below here, of course. But we're going to look through what were the top 10 stories. I will stop on a few of them and talk about them, and that's going to be the main gist of this. But the stories do lead into each other, as I try to make them do. I am a fan of the segue, big fan of the segue, Jeff. Anyways, let's move on. First story of the year, and it's a big one. Canada moving, steam rolling towards legalization. Now, I'll speak to that. I want to, of course, speak to that. I wish I had my water here, because my hair is just really static. Yes, this is something I've learned to do. If you've got better things, let me know. But I just get a little bit of water on my hands and make my hair a tiny bit wet. There, now it won't stick to my face while I'm talking to you. Canada's legalization. We are moving to the end of prohibition by July 2018. However, calling it legalization is a misnomer. We are not fully legalizing this plant. It isn't like your pine tree in the front yard, and even that isn't fully legal, is it? In most areas in this world now, you can't plant a new tree in your yard unless you've got everyone else on the block agreeing with you. Things like that. We've got so many rules and regulations, and that's what's happening in Canada. They are just relaxing the criminal records to nothing on possession of cannabis within a certain framework. That framework is very dependent province by province. See my last week's 2 weeks ago Hippie News Network, where I covered province by province how we're dealing with things differently. But the sheer fact that Canada will move to legalization next year leads into all these other stories I'm talking about, because there is threats to the snowball of legalization rolling through the United States. And Canada's legalization helps diminish those threats. Number 2 is Nevada adult use era opens. There is now Legalization in Nevada. Number 3, Jeff Sessions barks, but he doesn't bite. All year long, he's put out a couple of big barks about ending the Cole's Memo, ending the I forget what it's called, but we're going Rohrabacher Blumenauer medical marijuana protections, ending those protections, and the Cole Memo, which tells people how to deal with stuff. We'll talk more on that, but all year long he barked, but he never bit. Number 4, Germany and Mexico legalized medical this year. Number 5, California and Massachusetts have legalized it beginning of 2018, but they did it in 2017. Number 6, cannabis emerges as an opioid alternative. This is one that I really want to talk to people about. Take a moment. Think about this. Think about how often this subject comes up. Every time it comes up, if you do not hear cannabis mentioned as a possible alternative to opioids or as a possible tool to reduce addiction, then please, if you're brave enough, interject that into the conversation. It needs to be a national conversation. We have Canada the same. We have North American wide too many people dying from a pharmaceutical drug that doesn't help when we have something that will help them with the problem they have, as well as get them off the addiction that could kill them. This is important. Number 7, state legalization, a success at the 5-year mark, talking about Colorado and how 185, not just Colorado, 185 million in Washington in 2016 alone funded school construction, drug abuse education and prevention, and even sent some students to college. This is what I hope the future to be. It's a new source of income that takes income away from other areas such as alcohol, such as heavier drugs and pharmaceuticals. And then because of the new thoughts of being good citizens, these taxes are being directed towards schools, towards education, towards extracurricular activities for children that should never been taken away, that kind of thing. So that's great. Number 8, Rohrabacher Blumenauer protections are at risk. That kind of goes with number 3 we will talk about. Number 9, tainted product Mars cannabis market. I'll stop and talk about tainted products. People, there will always, no matter how well regulated an industry is, there will always be somebody trying to undermine, undercut, and underserve and make a lot of money. Watch for these people. Don't buy from a corner store that you've never visited. In fact, I suggest never buy cannabis from anyone unless you've researched their business, made sure they've been in business for a while, and talk to the owners. That's what I do, and that's why I stick with one supplier. Number 10, conservatives join the cannabis cause. This is happening in the US and Canada, that finally conservatives are seeing the market opportunities and the freedom that's at risk. And they're seeing it from a new perspective, a new paradigm, a new vision, and they're starting to back it. Because if we let the liberals run away with it, it's all going to be government run, like Ontario is proposing to do. Alberta here, where the people speak louder than the government, is going the other way. This we will talk about. We will talk about it. Let us move on. That's those 10 points. Let's have another little something to enjoy. I wish I had some keef, but I have no keef, so we're going to have a little bit of, we just had Pink Kush. Let's have some Sour Jack. Also rosin. I'm a big rosin fan, very clean, no butane, no nothing, just heat. Peace and cheers, friends. Doing this all over again is so deja vu-ish. So deja vu-ish. I have no idea even how long that one was. Sorry to those of you who were watching and just... ridiculous, huh? I should have noticed. It has... My studio has a ticker that shows if my voice is carrying through. So I should notice. Let's move on to the next story, which is a migration from number 3, is Jeff Sessions leaves the Cole Memo intact for now. What it is just once again proof of what I've said about Jeff Sessions having no real desire to step on the states. He's using it as a ploy for other purposes. He knows those 26 states that have medical and those 3 or 4 or 5 that have recreational are very dependent on him protecting the Coles Memo and the Blumenauer protections. The Cole Memo, I will speak about what it is in a minute. Him continuing to use it, it is one, like the art of the deal. You always put out things that people will protect for anything and say you're going to take that away, and then you move it aside and say, okay, well maybe, but I'll take this away, and they go, yeah, okay. It's all about negotiations. He knows he knows there is no way the federal government could now roll back the slow and actually moving quick now legalization of pot. That's why I brought this up. What is the Cole Memo? Let me tell you. Let me read. The Cole Memo, written by James Cole, a deputy AG under the then Attorney General Eric Holder, spelled out the conditions under which the Justice Department would allow the states to regulate and enforce their own cannabis laws. The memo did not federally legalize cannabis or protect the DEA or other Justice Department agencies from enforcing laws. It merely is a policy document meant to guide departmental decisions about state legal cannabis. He had a whole bunch of these memos that are guides that he was retiring. The Trump government, and I back them on this, is going through a very conservative-ish year where they are getting rid of all the useless regulations that get in the way of doing business, and that's why the market is changing. Part of that is he uses a few of these regulations that are popular to get rid of other regulations that are not so popular. So that's what I think is at play. I don't think you'll ever see the federal government try to reverse this snowball. I don't see it happening. Moving on, we now get a story. Again, every one of these stories are below. Legalized pot to cost $10 a gram. The finance ministers say. That's all the ministers getting together across Canada. And this is so ridiculous. The market needs to drive the cost. I understand them taking their $1 for the first 10. $1 tax for the first 10, 10% for anything after that. I understand that, and use the tax wisely. We're going to hold government to using that tax wisely. But you have to let the market drive the cost, not you drive the cost, because at $10 a gram, even here in Alberta, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to buy $10 a gram for just regular kind of street weed, not medical. Medical is better, and I get my medical at an average around $7 a gram. $10 a gram, if it's really, really good, maybe I will, but once in a while, you know? So This is, once again, the government not being smart because they're not knowledgeable. We have a whole bunch of people in government that either haven't touched it or touched it a little bit, but try to stay away from it because they're in government, trying to create an industry that will create itself. So let them bump into walls and keep bumping into the walls. Once we legalize, the market will correct itself, especially here in Alberta, where it's very market driven. In Ontario, where it's going to be, it's only government liquor stores, government cannabis stores. There won't be any private enterprise. Well, their $10 a gram will just drive people to the streets and to online deliveries from British Columbia. In Alberta, we will have a mix. We will have a very large private enterprise that will bring those costs down and work for the people. So I say go ahead, let them bump into walls. Let them bring this legislation forward. We spend the next 2 to 5 years or 10 years. It may be an ongoing generational battle to slowly get those laws to be as lenient as liquor, if not more lenient, because it's safer. Safer. Let us move on to what is CBC. This is fantastic. This is something that I've wanted to talk about, and I was glad it came up. Cannabichromene. It's a cannabinoid. It is one of the major ones. It is not found in every plant, but it can be developed from the beginnings of a plant, so you can promote a plant to produce it better. CBC has the same origins as both THC and CBD do, in that they all stem from cannabigerolic acid, CBGA. Cannabis plants produce CBGA, the precursor to the 3 major cannabinoids: tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, THCA, cannabidiolic acid, CBDA, and cannabichromenic acid, CBCA. And from that, then you heat or ultraviolet light changes CBCA to CBC, where it can then attach itself to our endocannabinoid system within our body. We don't get high from the C's because there is no, I don't know the stuff in there because I've had a bit too much here. It's a great story. CBC works well with other cannabinoids. This story really goes on, and it mentions the entourage effect more than once. And I'm so glad to hear so much more and more studies are saying, don't do your CBC or CBD or CBG or CBN without a little bit of THC. All those present together do their own jobs better because of the existence of the others as support. It's more than symbiotic, is that THC makes CBD work better as a CBD. CBD makes the THC work better. It takes away the spikes, the ups and the downs, and makes a more steady pain management rather than high. It takes the high away. It's really, really interesting. I do encourage everybody to read this story. It's very, very in-depth. It's going to talk about your CB1 and CB2 receptors in your body and how THC attaches to endocannabinoid receptors differently than CBC and CBD and CBG do. And it's difficult to explain fully in this short little period. So we will move on to the final story. Just a fun story while we have... we don't need one more. I'm done. The last story is, this is how much weed it would take to kill you. It's just a fun story from Do It Yourself Health Academy. And I've shared this kind of story before. It attaches different charts and everything as to how many people have died from cannabis. Even the CDC says zero. Zero. Nobody's died. Every time I put out a story like this, somebody comes forward with a story of, oh, some fool in some place had a pound of cannabis fall on his head and break his neck. Cannabis killed him. No, taking cannabis didn't kill him. Putting a heavy thing away stupidly killed him. His own stupidity killed him. Anytime anyone's ever brought a story forward and said, there's something, it has always been no. No. So, we're at the end. I'm going to try again. I'm going to convert this, move it back up, try and promote it, and then no wonder the previous version uploaded so quickly. It had no sound. Anyways, my friends, Merry Christmas. We're going to have a good one. That's probably the best Christmas all before Santa's arrived in 4 or 5 years in this house. This is our first Christmas in this house. From me, from Gordy Jr., from Pasha, from all of us in the Birch family, to all of you who listen, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a quirky Kwanzaa. I don't know what to say there. Just have fun over the holidays. Find people without smiles. Not only give them a smile, give them a few bucks, give them a hug, give them some laughter, tell them a joke. Let's spread joy. Let's spread joy over Christmas. My friends, I love you. Peace, cheers, love and harmony. That was awful. Love and harmony. Is that better? Peace, friends.